As the child grows, as they enter their youth and are spending more time in study, we have this counsel that applies to youth. The time of study must be divided between the gaining of book knowledge and the securing of a knowledge of practical work. So dividing the time, equal parts. And as we're told, the study of books only cannot give students the discipline they need. We need more than just the study of books. Now, don't misunderstand me. Do we need the study of books? Clearly, nothing wrong with that, but it needs to be in balance. So let's talk about some aspects of physical training. The first one being useful work. What is useful work? Any examples? Making their bed. All right, that's a good one. What was that? Okay. Doing the dishes, what? Folding the laundry, okay. Practical stuff. It's amazing how many students graduate from college and don't know how to clean the bathroom. But we shouldn't fault them for it because maybe they never learned it at home. I remember a friend of mine talking about, he's from Mexico, he was talking about how his sisters don't know how to make tortillas de mano, tortillas by hand, right? He's like, they can do it with a machine, but they don't know how to do it by hand. And he said because his mom sent them off to school, and he said they didn't learn those things in school. My mom knew how to make tortillas de mano, but they never learned it because they were spending their time in school. And that's just a good example of something really simple, right? We can't just expect that children are going to learn this stuff by osmosis or just automatically. We have to teach them, and they need to spend time doing it. And that's a fundamental part of education. We read that the greatest benefit is not gained from exercise that's taken as play or exercise merely. There is some benefit in being in the fresh air and also from the exercise of the muscles, but let the same amount of energy be given to the performance of useful work and the benefit will be greater. And this is interesting to me because often in the school setting, when we want to add a physical activity component, what do? It's usually just exercise or it might be competitive sports. But it's saying here we don't get the same benefit from that. It's better if it's something useful. And for this reason, we have so much counsel to us, especially for our schools, saying we need practical education programs. We need to be teaching our students trades, agriculture, all these fundamental aspects of true education that will prepare them for life and to be better missionaries. Students have gained book knowledge without gaining a knowledge of practical work cannot lay claim to a symmetrical education. So we need both. Every man, woman, and child should be educated to practical, useful work. So there's useful work. Those are the practical things in everyday life. There's also manual training. Manual training is more specific to a certain trade or skill that they could then use to support themselves if needed. Manual training is deserving of far more attention than it has received. Every youth on leaving school should have acquired a knowledge of some trade or occupation by which, if need be, he may earn a livelihood. Again, ask yourself that question. As a teacher, as a homeschool parent, is my child learning a trade that they can support themselves with? Even if it's not their career necessarily, but some practical trade they could fall back on if they needed to. These are important skills to learn. And this is interesting. If the youth can have but a one-sided education, which is of the greatest consequence? Now today, we usually say, okay, one-sided, we'll focus on the books. The study of sciences with all the disadvantages to health and life, or the knowledge of labor for practical life. We unhesitatingly say the latter. If one must be neglected, let it be the study of books. Well, that's a complete flip from what we think today, isn't it? We're not saying we need to neglect either one. But if you're going to neglect one, it should be the books and not the practical work. That's how important it is. Agriculture, fundamental aspect of physical training. I'm going to talk more about that in a point all to itself. And then a fourth aspect of physical development is health. Children should be taught the principles of health. We're told they should be taught physiology, hygiene, how to deal with common diseases and accidents. I remember my sister was I'll keep it rather anonymous. They were at a place, she was at a place that taught some medical missionary training. And in the course of her time there, someone injured themselves quite badly and started fainting. And I say injured themselves. It was a severe cut, okay? A severe cut on their finger, and this individual started fainting. I don't know if it was the sight of blood or the pain or whatever it was. And nobody knew what to do. And my sister just calmly stepped in and took care of the situation. And it just spoke to me, okay, here's a place they're studying medical missionary work, but it was all theory. Not all of it, they were doing their best. But they were trying to advance so much without covering the basics of, okay, what do we do in first aid situations? And this is basic stuff children can learn in the home. How to deal with a cut, how to deal with an accident. You don't have to run to the emergency room for everything. There's some things you can do in the home. So this is just practical stuff that children should learn.